Welcome back to Bad Things in History, where sometimes the questionable past drags on into the present. Back pain is a common and unfortunate problem for people all over the world. Those who can simply endure it. Others take medication to deal with the pain. A significant number of people who suffer from back pain seek relief by visiting chiropractors. Do they actually help the patients that medical science cannot? Or are they frauds? Today we are going to look at the strange and troubling history of chiropractic medicine. Vitalism. Modern medicine uses the scientific method to diagnose and treat diseases. But in the distant past, the healing arts used a vastly different approach to explain the nature of life. Ancient cultures observed that living things are very different from non-living things. They decided it was because living organisms contained a special force that simply didn't exist elsewhere. Life entered an organism because of a vital spark that brought it into existence. Variations of this belief existed in ancient Egypt. It was also present in Greece as well. Within the Roman Empire, doctors thought that lungs inhaled life force, which was then distributed by blood. The belief in vital forces persisted beyond the lifetime of the empire and found its way to medieval Europe as well. Over time, Isaac Newton's discoveries inspired those who believed in vitalism to find scientific explanations which supported their beliefs. One of those who rose to the occasion was Karl Reichenbach. Karl was from Stuttgart, Germany. From 1830 to 1834, he worked on distilling hydrocarbons, which contributed to the creation of modern industrial chemicals. In 1839, he moved on to a different type of research. Karl wanted to learn more about the human nervous system. He studied people with mental illnesses and decided that he knew the source of their troubles. They were simply too sensitive to the vital force that powered all living things. Karl called this living energy the Odic Force and said that it was related to magnetism. Thus, the life force which inhabited all organisms now had a scientific explanation. Although scientists never took Karl's theory seriously, the idea of vitalism never went away. It would eventually serve as the philosophical basis for chiropractic medicine. But the practice of treating patients had its roots in a more gruesome profession. Bonesetter. Life in the past was difficult and dangerous. People suffered all kinds of injuries. Bones were broken, joints were dislocated, and muscles were damaged beyond repair. Most people in the past were also poor. When they needed help to treat injuries, they didn't go to a hospital. Instead, they looked for a local professional known as a bonesetter. A bonesetter would examine a broken bone and push it back into place. Then it would be supported with either a splint or a plaster cast. A very well-trained bonesetter could also pop dislocated joints back into the correct position. More skilled members of the profession were also able to manipulate damaged muscles and relieve pain. The services provided by these professionals were so valuable that a few of them became famous. Sally Mapp was born in Wiltshire, England in 1706. Her father was a bonesetter, and Sally spent her childhood watching him treat patients. As her father became too old to practice the craft, Sally started taking care of patients herself, and it turned out she was really good at it. Popping joints and bones back into place was a difficult task that required great strength. Usually it had to be done by very strong men, but Sally was just as capable as any of them. She was known for being able to pop the most stubborn bone back into place. On October 21, 1736, a writer named James Caulfield described how Sally performed her duties. On Monday, Mrs. Mapp performed 2 extraordinary cures. One on a young lady of the temple who had several bones out from the knees to her toes, which she put in their proper places, and the other on a butcher whose knee pans were so misplaced that he walked with his knees knocking one against another. Yesterday, she performed several other surprising cures, and About one set out for Epsom and carried with her several crutches, which she calls trophies of honor. Unfortunately, Sally was also a raging alcoholic. Her fame and fortune evaporated, and Sally died in 1737 at the age of 30. By 1815, attitudes in England started to change. Modern medicine gained in popularity, and folk remedies soon fell out of favor. Despite modern developments, Bonesetters still exist today. They practice mostly in developing countries where access to modern medicine is limited. In the Western world, they are nearly extinct. One man would combine the concept of vitalism with the practical nature of bone setting to create the modern field of chiropractic medicine. The father of chiropractic medicine. Daniel David Palmer was born in Port Perry, Ontario on March 7, 1845. He moved to the United States around 1865. Daniel participated in several professions before discovering his true calling. First, he was a beekeeper. Then Daniel worked as a school teacher. At one point, he even owned a grocery store. By 1870, he spent much of his time studying magnetic healing. It was a theory that claimed using magnets could help unleash the body's healing powers. Daniel would use this treatment on paying customers for several years, but eventually his beliefs would expand into other areas. In 1895, Daniel was treating patients in his office in Davenport, Iowa. According to Daniel, the building's janitor was hard of hearing. Daniel thought it might be because of a lump in the back of the neck. He moved some joints in the janitor's back and claimed that the hearing problems were fixed. The janitor's daughter, many years later, said that this never happened. Her father was never treated by Daniel, nor was lost hearing ever restored. In 1896, Daniel combined techniques of joint manipulation with his spiritual beliefs. He claimed that most illnesses were due to subluxation. This meant that parts of the body were experiencing pain and inflammation because the spine was out of alignment. He thought that physically manipulating the back could fix these problems. More specifically, Daniel believed that the vital forces in the body were out of balance. Physically moving joints in the back could therefore relieve most diseases. He once described his approach to healing. In 1886, I began as a business. Although I practiced under the name of Magnetic, I did not slap or rub as others. I questioned many MDs as to the cause of disease. I desired to know why such a person had asthma, rheumatism, or other afflictions. I wished to know what differences there were in two persons that caused one to have certain symptoms called disease, which his neighbor living under the same conditions did not have. In my practice of the first 10 years, which I named Magnetic, I treated nerves, followed and relieved them of inflammation. I made many good cures, as many are doing today under a similar method. His spiritual beliefs were often in direct contradiction with medical science. Daniel completely rejected germ theory. He thought that vaccines were ridiculous and nobody in their right mind should take them. At one point, he said of vaccines, "It is the very height of absurdity to strive to protect any person from smallpox or any other malady by inoculating them with a filthy animal poison." In 1897, Daniel created a school to help teach others about his approach to treating illness. It became known as the Palmer College of Chiropractic. One of the first students was Daniel's son, B.J. Palmer. Medical science had a low tolerance for Daniel and his new branch of medicine. They called him a quack and said his treatments were dangerous. Soon laws were passed which required those who treated patients to have a valid medical license. In 1906, Daniel was prosecuted for practicing medicine without a license. He decided to protest this unfair treatment by refusing to pay a fine and going to jail. However, prison was not enjoyable, so after several weeks he decided to pay the fine. Daniel sold the school in Iowa to his son BJ. Then he left the state and established other schools in Oklahoma, Oregon, and California. The relationship between Daniel and his son was very tense. It would end in resentment and possibly violence. But the family business would continue to grow. The developer of chiropractic medicine. B.J. Palmer was born on September 14, 1882, in Waukegan, Iowa. During the first years of his childhood, the family lived in the back of the grocery store that Daniel owned. In 1885, B.J.'s mother died after a brief illness. Daniel remarried several times and had 2 more children with his various wives. According to B.J., Daniel was so busy with creating chiropractic treatments that he usually ignored the children, and when he did pay attention to the children, it was to deliver beatings. Despite their strained relationship, B.J. attended his father's school and learned the profession of chiropractic medicine. After graduating, he worked as an instructor at Palmer College. While there, he met another instructor named Mabel Heath. They were married on May 30th, 1904. B.J. ran his own research clinics. Through that work, he became convinced that the upper cervical spine was the key to managing health. He also decided to use more modern diagnostic tools. B.J. began using imaging technologies, such as X-rays. His desire to use tools from medical science caused a split in the chiropractic community. Those who identified as straight practiced only the art of joint manipulation. They refused to use any tools provided by science. The practitioners that believed as B.J. did were called mixers, since they would use a variety of tools to treat patients. Daniel and B.J. had a very argumentative relationship. Tensions flared after Daniel sold the school to B.J. Reportedly, the two did not agree on the future of chiropractic medicine. On August 27, 1913, it was alleged that B.J. ran over Daniel with a car during a parade. Whether or not it did happen, Daniel passed away on October 20th. That same year, B.J.'s efforts to legalize chiropractic medicine began to bear fruit. Kansas decided it would use a different licensing system for chiropractic doctors. Eventually, it would spread to all 50 states. B.J. continued doing his part to spread this special brand of medicine. In 1922, he bought a radio station which broadcast news and promoted chiropractic treatments. Fun fact, B.J. gave Ronald Reagan his first broadcast job at the station. B.J. passed away from intestinal cancer on May 27, 1961, but his teachings are still being used today. Is it safe? Medical doctors were against chiropractic medicine from the moment it appeared, but their ability to eliminate it was always restricted by the courts. In 1963, the American Medical Association created the Committee on Quackery, which had the goal of eliminating chiropractic medicine entirely. Instead, it would have the opposite effect. In 1976, several chiropractors sued the American Medical Association as well as several physicians. They claimed that by trying to eliminate chiropractors, it was a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Ultimately, the court found in favor of the plaintiffs. Doctors were not going to eliminate chiropractic medicine. Judge Susan Getzendonner, while rendering her decision, was careful to not claim that chiropractic medicine was valid. She said during her ruling, "The plaintiffs clearly want more from the court. They want a judicial pronouncement that chiropractic is a valid, efficacious, even scientific healthcare service. I believe that the answer to that question can only be provided by a well-designed, controlled scientific study. No such study has ever been done. In the absence of such a study, the court is left to decide the issue on the basis of largely anecdotal evidence. I decline to pronounce chiropractic valid or invalid on anecdotal evidence." The opinion doctors have concerning chiropractic medicine is still mostly hostile. In 2020, one physician told the Skeptical Inquirer, "I think spinal manipulation therapy, or SMT, is a reasonable option for patients to try, but I could not in good conscience refer a patient to a chiropractor. When chiropractic is effective, what is effective is not chiropractic. It is SMT. SMT is also offered by physical therapists, DOs, and others. These are science-based providers. If I thought a patient might benefit from manipulation, I would rather refer him or her to a science-based provider. As to whether doctors think chiropractors are safe, it mostly depends on what they're doing. The World Health Organization has claimed that chiropractic treatment is safe when applied with proper skill, but there is the potential for unfortunate side effects, and sometimes these side effects kill. On November 8, 2014, 30-year-old Jeremy Youngblood walked into a chiropractor's office. After having his neck manipulated by the chiropractor, he suddenly died. An autopsy discovered that the treatment had caused blood vessels to burst in Jeremy's brain. Katie May was a former Playboy model. On February 1, 2016, she was 34 years old. She was suffering from a pinched nerve in her neck. Katie went to visit her chiropractor. When he manipulated her neck, it caused Katie to have a fatal stroke. Chiropractic doctors are also allowed to practice in other countries, such as the United Kingdom. In August 2017, John Lawler was 80 years old. He was having pain from a leg injury and decided to visit a chiropractor named Arlene Scholten. Moments after the session began, John began yelling out in pain. He could no longer feel his arms or legs or move any of his limbs. He died in a hospital the next day from irreversible spinal damage. After an investigation by the Chiropractic Committee, Arlene was cleared of wrongdoing and allowed to continue treating patients. Chiropractors are clearly here to stay, but their treatments are not without risk. Do you think chiropractors provide a valuable service, or are they frauds who shouldn't be allowed to treat patients? Tell us what you think in the comments below. We really want to know how our viewers feel about this controversial profession. There is much more history on this topic than we could cover in this episode, but if you think we did a good job, then please like the video. And subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. If you enjoy the content we make, then please consider a donation to the cause of horrible history. Links are in the video description if you're interested. Thank you for watching Bad Things in History.